Hello, and welcome back to my channel. This is Linda, and I'm a healer, a coach, and a facilitator. And in this channel, we talk about practical spirituality and emotional intelligence concepts and how you can use them in your day-to-day life to create a more fulfilling and joyful life. Today, I will be doing another card reading. There's tarot and oracle cards here. I did this last month and it was apparently popular, so I am going to do it again. If this works out, I'm probably going to be doing this once a month moving forward. So we'll try this for the second time today and then we'll see how it works out. And if so, I'll continue to do them once every month to just get the energies and the challenges and advice for the month. So like I said in the last video, I will be jumping back and forth because I do all my videos, or most of my videos anyways, in English and Spanish, and I don't want to redraw the cards. So I won't be shuffling the cards on camera because first of all, I'm not great at it. And second of all, I have to go back and forth between English and Spanish. So I'll have to cut the video and it's just easier if I just have them all laid out at first, okay? So why don't we just get started? So, in this column right here, the cards that I drew were about what are the challenges facing you right now for this month, this upcoming month, really, because I'm doing this at the end of June. So this would be for the month of July. What are the upcoming energies? Now, like I said in the previous video, time and space are a fourth dimensional construct, and the intuitive information, the information that we get from tarot cards, intuition, and several other aspects of spirituality come from the fifth and higher dimensions, so which are not bound by the concept of time. So all of that just to say that basically whenever you come across this video is when you are meant to come across this video. So the fact that I am doing this reading now in June 2020 doesn't mean anything. Whenever you watch this video, whether it's next week or 5 years from now, if it resonates, then it was meant for you. And the other thing I wanted to clarify, please don't force things. If something doesn't resonate, it's not meant for you. I'm right now doing just one reading because I have a small number, well, not that small, but a modest number of followers and or subscribers on YouTube. But as that number grows, I probably will be breaking the cards apart into different groups. But for now, this is going to be the reading for today. So why don't we just get started? So like I was saying, this column right here is the challenges that you're facing right now. So the way that I do it is I draw one card for the challenge and then one card to clarify what this challenge is, to get more clarification or more detail on the challenge. And then this card, which is what is the shadow of this particular challenge. And when we talk about shadow, we're talking about the subconscious motivations, all those things that are in the back of your mind that are not on your conscious mind, that are driving or motivating the behaviors or the thoughts, feelings, etc., that are causing these challenges for you. And then in this row here, separate, I'm using the oracle cards, which are meant to give you some advice on how to proceed or what to take into account to address this challenge, to resolve or heal this. So the first card here that I got was the Five of Swords or Spades, depending on where you are in the world. And if you look at the card here, hopefully you can see it here. The official meaning or the traditional meaning of this card in the tarot deck is that it is about conflict, about disagreements, about defeat. You can see here is, sort of like it feels like the end of a battle. Now, all my readings I use a traditional meaning of the cards, but I also use intuitive guidance on what the cards mean. And when I pulled this card, the first thing that I noticed, if you could see here, I don't know how clear that is, this guy over here with the swords, he seems to be the one that won the battle. And if you look at him here, he looks a little bit like he's sort of smiling. But when I first pulled the card, that is not what I focused on. All of my senses were really focusing on the dropped swords and these two guys. I think there's just two. Yeah, these two guys walking away. So that is more in alignment with the traditional, one of the traditional meanings, which is the meaning of defeat. And what I got here was more the sense of defeat, this feeling of defeat, this feeling of surrender, this feeling of being tired of fighting, of being done with the fighting, being done with the difficulties, being done with the suffering. So that seems to be what the challenge is for me, which is a little bit in alignment with the traditional meaning of the card, but not entirely. So again, just that feeling of defeat, that feeling of being tired of suffering, tired of fighting, tired of working hard, etc. So when I asked for clarification here, what I got was the Page of Cups. And the more traditional meaning of the Page of Cups card, which I'm putting right up here, is about possibilities, about creative opportunities, about intuitive messages. So what I'm getting the sense from here, if I look at that, at these cards, the way they are arranged right here, is again the difficulty here is the sort of this feeling of defeat, this feeling of surrendering, of being tired of fighting, of being tired of working too hard, of not wanting to do it anymore, of sort of walking away from it. And what this card seems to be clarifying for me, and again, this is based on my own guidance and my own intuition, is that we are tired because we are not listening and we are not paying attention. We are not using all of our senses to really understand the intuitive messages that we are getting, that we are not looking at the opportunities, at the easier opportunities, at the better opportunities, at the higher aligned opportunities for us. And we're only focusing on the battle. We're only really focusing on all of the suffering and all of the hard work, and therefore that's where all of our attention and possibly all of our effort is going, and therefore we are exhausted, right? We feel defeated, we just want to give up, we want to be done. And it makes sense, right? Especially given the times that we're living in right now. Again, I'm recording this in June, the end of June 2020 for the July 2020 reading, which we're still in the middle of the quarantine. Sorry, I have to watch my words. We're still in the middle of the quarantine. So a lot of people are tired. We've had a lot of difficulty in the United States, and that seems to be spreading all over the world. So a lot of people are tired. They're tired of working hard. They're tired of the struggle. They're tired of battling, etc. But a lot of this is showing the part of the challenge is that we are ignoring what are the intuitive messages that we are receiving, the divine source messages that we're receiving. We are not paying attention. It's not that the opportunities are not there. They are there. We're just not looking at them. We are not seeing it because we're focusing all of our attention. I don't know, I was pointing to my eyes, which you cannot see, but we're focusing all of our attention on the effort, on the struggle, on the feeling of defeat, on the exhaustion. So I am now going to go ahead and look at the book for card number 76. Like I said before, this is the shadow, which is the subconscious thoughts, subconscious beliefs, subconscious motivations that are driving this difficulty, this challenges for us. Okay, so I am going to be reading the book, which is number 76, is Deflection. And it says, if you have drawn this sigil, you are currently using deflection as a tool to avoid awareness in a situation where you really do not need to recognize, you really do need to recognize something within yourself. Deflection is a defense mechanism that is designed to preserve self-concept. It is a form of projection when it is used to deflect blame. Deflection is when someone communicates causes someone to feel triggered, and as a result, instead of taking it in, they either ignore, deny, or turn away from it. Or worse, turn it back towards the other person. This is done to avoid painful memories and painful emotions and painful thoughts, but it also prevents the person from being self-aware. All right, so this actually, it's interesting. I actually pull all of the cards first. I don't pull one and look for the meanings or use my intuition. I actually pull them all first, and then I start looking at them as I start the recording. So it's really interesting because it always seems to work out. I'm not really sure what the guidance is for these two. I'm not really sure I understand this just yet, but I will read the oracle cards, and I'll also give you my intuitive hits on these first. But the first thing, so this was about deflection, and is this idea, right, that because something, we hear something, we see something, we feel something, and we get triggered by it, we have an emotional reaction, a negative emotional, I wasn't sure if you saw the quotes, but a negative emotional reaction to it, and therefore we deflect, right? We redirect it in another direction. We choose to either ignore it or push it away or push it onto something or someone else. And this is really interesting, actually, because what we were talking about, right? Because we're feeling defeated, or the audience, right? Whoever the listeners are for this video, there's this sense of feeling defeated, of wanting to surrender, of wanting to give up, right? The exhaustion, tired of working hard, tired of fighting all the time. And the shadow of this, right? This is a clarification card, which is the Page of Cups, the middle one, right? But the shadow of this, which is actually very similar to the clarification, but the shadow of this is that we are deflecting, that we are not taking in what actually is happening, what actually is triggering us emotionally, and we're actually blaming other people or our environment, or basically deflecting blame, right? We're trying not to look at what we're doing that is contributing to this particular scenario, this scenario where we're feeling tired, where we're feeling exhausted, where we feel like we are, it's an uphill battle and we're always struggling. So the shadow, what it's saying is we're not wanting to look at that, and therefore we are deflecting. And what's interesting is that clarification card for the challenge is the Page of Cups, which really, what it's saying is that we are not looking at the creative opportunities that we have in front of us, at the intuitive messages, at what the universe or God or whatever you want to call it is trying to tell us that we should be focusing on. We are focusing on this, and we're using this to deflect. So we're using this to deflect from this, right? To move away from what the universe, the messages that the universe is trying to give us, to push us towards the path, towards the path that is highest and best for us. So now I'm going to look at the guidance here. I hope that's clear. If not, feel free to put in the comments if you have any more questions or need some clarification on these. And then, so the two guidance cards, these are oracle cards, and I don't know if all of the viewers are familiar with that, but really what oracle cards are just, they have drawings or paintings or figures, whatever. Sometimes they have words on it, but they don't have a traditional meaning. They have the meaning of the person who created them, and they usually come with a book, which is why I was reading the meaning for this, and I usually read the meaning for this as well. But anything that has imagery, this is a little bit more abstract, so it's hard for me to get an intuitive hit from this. But anything that has sort of imagery, like these cards, which are, by the way, gorgeous. This is it's called, I think, Threads of Fate. I've mentioned in the last video, these cards are just, I love these cards so much. They're just so beautiful. But anyways, I got two cards. Again, same thing happened, almost the same thing happened in the last video. I normally only ask for one card for each question that I'm asking. I do not like to get more than one card because it can get confusing. But in this case, last time I got three cards and they were stuck together and I almost couldn't unstick them. So I did the reading with the three, and it actually worked out beautifully. This time I got a couple of cards, so I decided to use both of them. And one is Get Wild, which has, I don't know if that's a coyote or what that is, a wolf or something howling at the moon. I don't know if you can see that. hopefully you can see it. It has this drawn in gold, so it's hard sometimes because it reflects in the camera. And then it's called Get Wild, and then the other one is Fate, and it has an egg, a golden egg. So I'll read the meanings in a minute, but really the Get Wild one in particular, to me, what it feels like the most is this sense of going back to primal. Get wild, this idea of going back to your primal instincts, which is not exactly what this is saying, but it's very similar to me, because in my own belief system, right, a lot of our primal feelings or primal desires or primal needs are intuitive, because they are not, dare I use the word tainted, right? They're not tainted with the socialization that we go through, the process of socialization that we go through as we grow up, which is really, in my humble opinion, what causes a lot of the trauma and causes a lot of the coping and defense mechanisms that really impact our lives as we get older, and that prevent us from getting from living a life that is in alignment with the gifts of our soul and our true desires. I do think that socialization does that. It actually, I understand why it's needed, but I do think it actually hinders sometimes our full expansion into the true essence of who we are. And I think getting back to primal, and to instinctual, to intuitive guidance, to the true desire, the deep true desires that you feel, the deep true needs that you have, is oftentimes the healing, the way to heal that, and is a lot of times, in my humble opinion, the best way to align with the essence of your soul. So when I see this card, I really, for me, these two feel very similar. Even though this is probably the intuitive hit, and the wording, Get Wild, makes me think of going primal. Both of them really feel as to listening, going back to those intuitive messages and really listening to your heart and to your soul and what it's trying to tell you. And the Fate card here, what I'm thinking is, it's interesting. I have a rock here that says Destiny. And I have this card here that says Fate. If I'm going to be fully honest, I don't know that I believe in destiny or that I believe in fate. And that's a subject for a different video. But I do believe that we create our own fate, that we can create the life that we desire when we go back and get into alignment with our true essence of our gifts and our desires and what's really in our heart and in our soul. So I'm interested to see what the meaning of it is, because the first thing that I think of when I see fate is we create our own fate, we create our own path. So let me just pull the book and read the cards here. Where did it go? Okay. So I'm trying to mark this. So Get Wild. It says, to connect with our wild nature is to bring ourselves into a state of balance. Having been raised in a culture that favors order, control, discipline, and obligatory respect for authority, many of us get a feeling of danger when we start to veer off the given path. This card is asking you to spend some time with the primal intuitive aspect of yourself. So basically exactly what I said before. And I had not read this before. I did look the pages up in advance, but I had not read this before. The intuitive aspect of yourself. This is interesting, both of the words that I use, primal and intuitive, which is primal is what the feeling I got from this, and intuitive is one of the traditional meanings of this card, like intuitive messages coming through. So this card, I'll repeat this again. This card is asking you to spend some time with the primal intuitive aspect of yourself. What immediately comes to mind when you think of that part of you? Is your wild self, if your wild self was a movement, what would it be? If it was a sound, what would the sound be? If it was a song, what is that song? Spend some time asking yourself what it means to you to get wild, and then make time and space for that. That is lovely. I actually really, really do love the meaning of that. And it's actually pretty close to what I had described before. And then the meaning of the Fate card says, this card is a this card is a reminder that you can create your fate. So basically exactly what I said. While some lessons and experiences are inescapable, we have free will and choice within the life we are given and the world we live in. This does not always equal fairness, as we do not all start life from the same footing. Nonetheless, each choice we make matters. From this place, we can approach the creation of our life in an empowered way. So there's more to it, but I'm not going to read all of it. But basically, I love saying this. I was right. I love that. That's actually one of my favorite phrases. But anyways, so pretty much there's a bit of a slight difference, but it's really a difference of degree. The intuitive hit that I got from these cards is exactly what these cards mean, really. So summarizing it, hopefully, I think you can, I'm still trying to figure out, by the way, how to organize this in a way that you guys can see everything. I think the setup that I had last week was better, so I think I'm going to return to that next month. So in summary, what is challenging you, the viewer, right now is this feeling of defeat, this feeling that of an uphill battle, right? That you want to give up the fight, that you want to surrender and drop your sword and just walk away because you're exhausted and you're tired of the suffering and of putting all of these effort and up the fighting, right? And the shadow behind that is deflection. Is that you are not wanting to listen to the intuitive messages that you're getting. You're not paying attention to all of the opportunities that are being presented to you here with the Page of Cups, right? So you are deflecting from that message, from what you're seeing, from the opportunities, and are focusing all of your attention on all of this struggle, right? And all of this hard work, and on the fact that you want to give up the fight that you feel like is an uphill battle. And it's both, right? You're in part doing it, feeling this way, and wanting to walk away because you are deflecting from this, right? From the messages, from the intuitive messages, from whatever the universe or God or whatever it is that you want to call it is trying to tell you, that'll take you to the path of most expansion and what is highest and best for you, be it because you think it's too hard, because you don't think you can get it, because you're afraid, all of the above. There's a lot of reasons why we do that. There's a lot of reasons why we may know that something deep in our heart is what we need to do or what we should do, what is best for us, what we want, what we truly desire, and we choose to walk away from it and focus on something else. So I'm not going to get into that in this reading. But again, it is both, right? We are deflecting, we're using deflection to move away from this, right? From the intuitive messages that we're getting and all of those opportunities that may be presenting ourselves for whatever reason. Again, it could be fear, coping mechanisms, whatever it is. But at the same time, we are also walking away from here and not listening to this intuitive messages, or wanting to walk away, feeling defeated and wanting to walk away and not listening to this. So this could be the cause, but at the same time, it's also sort of the solution. I hope that makes sense, right? So what is causing this feeling is that we're not listening, that we're not perceiving, that we're not taking in what the universe is offering us as far as messages and guidance, and we're deflecting. But at the same time, doing that is what's going to help us not feel this way before, not be in this spot before. And that ties in with this one ties in again with the guidance that we got here, that it is, get wild, which is again, listen to that intuition, get back to that primal need, to that primal desire that you have, that really true and unbridled truth of your heart and of your soul, so that you can create your own fate, right? So that you can create the life that you want. And actually, coincidentally, that is one of sort of the messages for the work that I do, right? To getting in touch. I hadn't thought about that until just now. Getting in touch with your soul, with the gifts of your soul, and working through all of these blocks and all of the shadow so that you can create the life that you want. And I swear I did not plan that way. I just actually even realized that like 20 minutes into the video. But in any case, that is the message. Those are the cards for your guidance for July. And I hope that it is helpful. And I will see you again next week with our regularly scheduled programming. Thanks. Namaste.